you know, during childbirth they go a little cuckoo. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Satini. Thank you for stopping by. If you like the content that you see on this channel, please feel free to subscribe, to like, to share, and to leave a comment. Today is a story time video. I'm going back into the past a little bit and I am going to talk about my labor and delivery story. So, disclaimer. Today is a story time video. I'm going back into the past a little bit and I am going to talk about my labor and delivery story. So, disclaimer. My son is actually 6 years old, so I am 6 years too late to tell this story, but I will tell it anyway because I didn't have a YouTube channel 6 years ago, so I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity and tell my story. Ain't nobody gonna stop me. But anyway, I gave birth to my beautiful, amazing son 6 years ago, and I am super proud to be a mom to him. He's such an amazing boy. He's so talented, so kind, so gentle. He's everything I would wish for in a child. But going back to 6 years ago when I gave birth to him, so I was about 2 weeks nearly 2 weeks overdue, because I remember that they say they would induce me if I wasn't in labor in a few days, but luckily I got into labor before they had to induce me. But anyway, this is me like a week and a couple of days overdue already, and I was like done. I was like, I ain't doing this anymore. Like, I was sick of it. You know, right at the end of your pregnancy, you're like, I can't do this no more. And I woke up one day and I was like, look bro, you've been here for so long. I've provided you with accommodation for free. I've provided you with food. I've provided you with heating and light. Like, you've overstayed your welcome. You gotta go. Like, you gotta come out. So I went on a really long walk with my mom and my niece, and I was like, today's gotta be the day. But you know, before that, you have these days when you have Braxton Hicks and you're like, oh my god, this is it. And then it's not it, you know? 24 hours later, the baby's still in your tummy. But I was like, I'm sorry, but it's eviction day today. So I went on a really long walk, and I remember that coming back, I was so tired because I'd pushed myself so hard. I could barely even walk. Like, I literally was like crawling almost. And I got home and then I just laid on the carpet. I was sick of it, and my mom made lunch for us, and I had lunch and I had a shower and I had a little nap. But then I could feel it, and you know, when it's labor, that this is labor, there's no confusion whatsoever. You're like, this is it. Nobody has to tell you, because you know, before that you're like asking people, you know, how is labor like, and people will be like, oh my gosh, you're gonna feel this and you're gonna feel that. But on that day, you don't ask nobody that, excuse me, do you think this is labor? Because you know this is labor. And I was like, oh shit. And I had this list of things that I would do when I get into labor, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna check that everything is in my bag, I didn't check nothing. I was like, oh my god, this is it. And I got into the labor, and it was slow pains, and I was like, okay, I got this. And then the real pain comes. Oh my gosh. And my mom, bless her, was so, she was scared, you know. She was trying to keep it together for me, but you could see she was rattled, and my mom doesn't get rattled easily, but you could see that she was like, ooh, my child's gonna die. You know, African parents can be a bit dramatic. But anyway, eventually I didn't want to go to the hospital. So I was like, I ain't going. I'm gonna go when the contractions are very close. But my mom was like, you know what, let's go. So my mom calls the taxi, and I hop into a taxi, and then we go to the hospital. And on the way, the pain was so excruciating, but I was like, okay, I gotta get it together. I couldn't go in an ambulance because, like, childbirth is not an emergency in Zimbabwe. they say you should plan ahead for it, so you should have your own private taxi already organized for the day. They're not going to prioritize sending you the ambulance if, for example, there's an accident or something like that. Not that you can't call the ambulance, you can't, but they do specifically tell you have your own transport ready. So I get my bag and we rush to the hospital. And there's this African myth that if you zip your bag, the bag that you take to the hospital with you, your labor is going to take long, all these African myths. And so I had my bag all open with the baby's clothes and everything. But I wasn't the only one like that. Everybody was like that in the clinic. But anyway, I went to a clinic. And this was before I had any money. Because you girls got money now. This is way back when I didn't have any money, and I had everything for the baby. I had really nice quality clothing and stuff like that, but I couldn't afford a private hospital, so this was a government clinic. So they get there and they check me and stuff like that, and my mom runs away. She goes home. She was too emotional. She said she was too emotional. She couldn't say goodbye, so I had to face the contractions on my own. And then the nurse is like, okay, don't go to the toilet if you feel like you're gonna, poop. She says, like, only go to the toilet if you want to go pee. And I was standing up like every 3 minutes to go to the toilet because, walking makes the contractions a little bit better. And I would go in and go into the bathroom and open the tabs. I don't know for what reason. During childbirth, they go a little cuckoo. But eventually the nurse checks my contractions, and then 2 hours later, she's like, she can't feel the baby's heartbeat. And then she's like, we have to transfer you to the hospital because I can't feel the baby's heartbeat, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I think she was just lazy that day. She's like, look. And eventually the nurse checks my contractions, and then 2 hours later, she's like, she can't feel the baby's heartbeat. And then she's like, we have to transfer you to the hospital because I can't feel the baby's heartbeat, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I think she was just lazy that day. She's like, look, I ain't helping this girl who's giving birth for the first time. I'm just going to ship her off to hospital. But anyway, I'm like, okay. Jump into the hospital. They call the ambulance. The ambulance comes and picks me up. And then the ambulance driver starts hitting on me. Like, I'm in pain. I don't have time for this nonsense. And he starts asking me out, and I'm like, bro, can't you see I'm pregnant and I'm about to give birth? But anyway, I get to the hospital and I go into the delivery room. I gave birth at Lady Rodwell Hospital, and I kid you not, nurse checks me and they forgot about me. Literally, they forgot about me. Almost the whole night I was alone because apparently they left me in like one of the delivery rooms, and then I just stayed there the whole night alone. And I remember I would walk out into the hallway and then I would take a peek, and there was this other lady as well. She was in labor and our contractions were almost synced. So whenever I'd come out on the hallway for a walk, she would be outside and she would laugh at me, making funny faces, funny labor faces. And then when my pain was over, I would laugh at her, making her funny faces. Anyway, so 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, it's now constant pain. Because before it was like, and at 5 o'clock it's just like, I've never felt so much pain in my life, and my face was swollen, my complexion had changed, like I literally was like something else. Come 6 o'clock visiting come 6 o'clock it starts getting busy in the delivery room that was in, so they start bringing in more people and they start checking on me a little bit more, and I'm like, okay. And then my mama comes, and because this is a delivery room, another lady's just giving birth, and there's like blood everywhere, and like the nurses are just going on with their business right there because my mom's a woman. They're like somebody's pulling out the placenta out of somebody, and I'm just in bed still pregnant, and my mom's like, you haven't given birth? And I'm like, no. And I couldn't, like, I was in so much pain, and the nurse is like, okay, we're gonna start with you now. So I'm like to my mom, okay, come back in 5 minutes. So the nurses try and get this baby out. They say push. Literally, I try to push for my life, but I couldn't push. Like I was pushing, but baby wasn't coming out. So eventually they try a vacuum, and the vacuum machine is not working. Like the vacuum suction baby thingy is not working. So eventually they turn to just trying to get me to push. So I'm like almost half dead, you know, like I'm torn down there, and finally I pushed the baby out, and they put him on my tummy, and I will never forget that feeling. He was so warm, and I looked at him, and like instantly he looked so familiar, like somebody I had known for so long. And he just looked at me, and I was like, oh my god, that's my baby, I'm a mama. And I'm like, oh yeah. So they put him aside, and then it was very sad, I remember, because another lady actually lost her baby that day, and I was like, I don't know if it could have been me, you know. It was sad. But then eventually it's another visiting hour, and my mom comes in, and I have blood everywhere. I have blood in my teeth because I was my teeth were bleeding for some reason. I was just like a mess, and my mom's standing there like, that ain't my daughter, what have you done to her? Like the poor woman was shocked. And I'm just talking, like, because she bought me food, and I'm just like eating, and I'm talking, I'm like, hey, the baby's upstairs, they've taken the baby upstairs, go take a look. And my mom's like, what about my baby, you know? And then so eventually my mom leaves, and they start checking on me, and I'm like surrounded in blood. Like I could feel the warmth of liquid around me, and that was my blood. So eventually the nurse is like, okay, I'm gonna stitch you up now. And then she opens my hoo-ha, and then she's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I can't stitch this up because this is like torn and ravaged. This is like mincemeat. And you know, as a woman, you never want to hear somebody describing your vagina to mincemeat. And I was like, will it ever go back to its normal way? But actually it did go back to its normal place. So eventually she calls in, I think it was the doctor, and he comes, and then he stitches it up, and then it's all good. And then they send me upstairs next to the nursery to the ward. So I go upstairs, and this is like 11 o'clock, and I go for a nap, and I napped until like 5 o'clock. I didn't go get the baby. I was like, literally I was finished, you know. And then finally at 5 o'clock they start breastfeeding the baby, and then it was all good, and my sister came to see me, and she bought me a little bit of goodies, and then yeah, that was all good. So yeah, and then the next day I finally got to take the baby home. So yeah, that was my labor and delivery story. I felt it was traumatic, but I know some people have had more traumatic delivery stories out there. But yeah, that is how it went down when I gave birth to my baby, to my little one. I just thought I'd record this one day, you know, when I'm old and I can't really remember what it was like. I can just refer to this video and remember what it was like. So yeah, thank you for stopping by, and if you sticked around for so long, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.